Hi YouTube, so my name's Ben if you don't know me, and for a wee while I've been looking for a season of different bits and bobs, and I'm in East Lothian, which is, for those who don't know, geographically, East Lothian is a place, or a county, in Scotland which is the east side of the city of Edinburgh. Okay, so Edinburgh, you're familiar with the capital of Scotland, albeit it is a smaller town than Glasgow, but it is the capital of Scotland. And if you were to drive or get a train from Edinburgh, you would come to where I live, which is on the commuter belt of the east coast, a place called Prestonpans. And it is towards what we call the Golfing Coast, so on that line you might recognise North Berwick or Gullen, which are renowned golfing locations where we have the Muirfield Open as one key example. You might also be familiar with nice hotels like Duck's Bistro and other places. So that I live in a mining town which is on that belt, and it's on that kind of coastline which heads towards the city of Edinburgh. And if you were to go further south than that, you'd end up going towards a place called Berwick upon Tweed along the highway, or the A1 as we call it, the carriageway. And if you kept going down that road, you would eventually end up down the A1 stretch towards Newcastle and down to England subsequently. So that's to give you an idea of where I am if you wanted to know where East Lothian was. So this is my first video. These are my kind of guys. And you'll recognise Kermit the Frog there, you'll recognise Bob from the Minions and Mr. Potato Head. It's all good fun. I'm a 27-year-old man who is married, and at the minute I'm staying with my dad and my wife. We can't quite afford yet at the minute to be having our own house, but we have done it before. So I'm coming on here today to tell you a bit about my kind of stuff that I go through. So unfortunately I've got a bit of autism and cerebral palsy. I have some limitations, and I wanted just to kind of put a wee feed out there because I am somebody who's in recent months gone into SSRIs, or antidepressants, however you want to put them, and the stuff I've taken has really helped me initially. So in my experience, I can only speak most of the part good things about being on the medication. There is a stigma out there, which is kind of understandable. There are some side effects to them in enough cases, but for my case, I would wave the flag and say, look, you know, in my initial stages of citalopram, which is my first medication, it has done wonders. Citalopram, it's a name which it focuses on the anxiety and the panic disorders. It does do your stuff with the vortex. I mean, I know the science of it, but I can't quite remember off my hand. If you look up SSRIs, there's a core principle of what it treats, and I think it's down to a lack or too much of serotonin in the brain that falls out the vortex, so it keeps it in and recycles the use of, sorry, I'm writing this down, recycles the use of what's already in that chamber. So if you can see that there, it's just like, it would be like putting on a car auxiliary and saying I want to recycle the air in the car if you're driving. Here, I like to read things as I say things. So 9 months on, I'm on citalopram, it works wonders, and I'm working away doing my job, and suddenly again I know the anxiety symptoms for me to come back to a stage where I had the weakness of muscles, the lack of concentration, the lack of motivation, the indecisiveness, which for me is kind of a thing I have to work on. And people who might know me well say I've got to make I do have to make a kind of decision, and and stick to it. If I kind of deviate and think too much, I'll just not decide anything. And unfortunately, before I started taking medication for a few years, I was kind of, my mind was going around in circles, and the term I think we use would be rumination, where you just think about things constantly that are off topic to what you're doing just now, and the task in that moment would suffer. So the ill came back again, and I went to my doctor a couple of weeks ago and said, like, I want to up the dose to 40 milligrams, please, see if I can. That helps, because I could hit it head on then. So, you know, positively I knew what to identify at that stage. And I tried it for a week or two, and I was absolutely shattered. I was at the point where I was just drowsy in the daytime, aching muscles, dizzy spells, which in themselves could be arguably anxiety as well. So ultimately, I needed to kind of reassess it again. So, unsurprisingly, I thought to myself, well, my doctor might want to kind of weaken those physical symptoms of the anxiety. So, he's given me today propranolol, which is a beta blocker. I think it listens with the heart rate and the pulse rate to bring those feelings of edginess down. So I'm going to see what happens with these. I know somebody in my work situation who has started them in recent weeks or months and felt them to be a bit too intrusive on the heart rate, but that's them. I'm not going to name them, but just going to put it out to YouTube. If anybody else had the experience of propranolol, good or bad, or any side effects you might want to tell me about, then feel free if you know anything at all. I'm just putting it out there saying, here's me. There's some videos I found useful around the use of certain medications which I've kind of looked at, and mental health. Enough of you might be thinking, knowing this and watching what you're going through it, and it is hard, albeit it's real, and to go through it, you might laugh at it when you don't know that it's mental health was a stigma they've got. They're not right in the head, but if you go through it, it's never to laugh at it, it's never to actually go through it, and it's very frightening. I am very much in favour of the medication. If you need them, they work, they tick the box, job done. I mean, I can understand why you might not want to. There's that element of risk where it will take a few weeks of side effects to kick in, and you have to go backwards to go forwards in some stages. Maybe. But if they work, they work. I would rather not have to take them at all, but I do. In Scotland and the UK, we get free prescriptions, which is kind of good. And I've been quite open to most of my pals now about the stuff I've been going through, and the best thing you can do, folks, is admit your weakness and crack on with it. And the worst thing you can do is let it eat you up inside, and you have to keep literally walking forward and just take things in steps. And it's shown me and my wife, because she's went through similar things of anxiety, where what it ultimately does is makes you realise what you have got, and be grateful for what you have got. I mean, my dad's let me stay with us just now, me and my wife, because we'd as I say, we'd ran a flat, and things happened and things surfaced, namely the anxiety is the key example. And all in all, work situations happened where I had to move back to my dad's because we couldn't run the flat and pay the bills on the hours we've been reduced to. And I would encourage you all to not put pressure on yourselves. I'd encourage you to just be you. I would encourage anybody who might put false responsibility or peer pressure into their heads to just focus on yourself for the most part in a season of learning about yourself. If you have to just shut everything else out and say I need to be by myself, then just say it. We're like in a culture where we don't judge each other, and I think that more and more people now are putting pressure on themselves to be something which they might not be able to do, or they might have to do something a different way. So one thing for me just now is I'm studying. I can't turn this whole thing around. Or can I? This is my wife's PC. I don't. Okay, you can't see it very well. You'll see blue textbook there. That's the bigger one. I'm studying AAT accountancy and bookkeeping on ICS, which is, I'm loving it. And self-study for me is pretty cool because I can digest it in my own time and I can read the textbook and do the webinar at my own pace. It works well because I didn't have to leave a job to do it. You know, I can fund the course and still be in work. So that's one example of something which I felt I needed to pay my strengths forward for, and I know I'm good with numbers, and that for me has been a good step in a sort of career move, if you will. I now needed to get to the place where I needed to stop again. When I say that, I mean make an intentional effort to not do anything, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. I'm just going to do nothing, leave my phone at home, have some boundaries in place, time with my wife, and go out for a coffee or just walk or just watch TV and relax. Because I want to do this, and ultimately, folks, what you want to do or need to do is not what other people are telling you to do. And hopefully the right friends would understand that and empathise with that. They wouldn't push you into something which they make you do. And there are some of you might have to shut some people out of your life that maybe aren't as helpful. And it is hard, and I might be rambling here, but there's a lot of things which we all have to go through in these seasons where we just have to find more of ourselves. I didn't choose to have this, but I do. I'm a Christian, so I believe that God's on my side, and we're quite transparent. My dad has had depression in the past, so he takes medication. I've got some pals that do as well. And yeah, if you want to leave me a message or get back to me, feel free.